Hey guys, welcome back to another Swift programming logic tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to explain how to use helper classes in Swift. So I've talked about classes before, and I've usually just talked about them as an alternative to structs, but they can actually be a bit more useful than that. So where a struct is just a data structure, a class can also have functions inside of it which enables it to actually use that data and do something with it. So I'm just going to call this helper classes, and I'm going to show you guys how to use them here. First I want to save it in my YouTube folder. So yeah, we're just going to save that in there. And yeah, I'm going to show you guys how to use them and how to actually initialize them in a different Swift file. So first, let's say this is our view controller where we have all our like app and stuff. And let's just create a new file called there. Let's make it a Swift file, and let's just call this let's call it calculator helper. So basically what this is going to do is we're just going to give it some values, and we're going to use it to help us calculate it. So I know this is a very basic idea, but it's just trying to explain how these helper classes work. So let's call this calculator helper, and let's initialize it with two numbers. So we can have let number 1 is an int and let number 2 is an int, and then for the init we'll just do something like number 1 int number 2 int self dot number 1 equals number 1, and we'll just do that. Alright, so now that we have our initialization, let's create a function here, and let's just call this function add numbers. So let's do func add numbers, and it's going to return an int, and we'll just return number 1 plus number 2. So this is our function, and let's just say we add one for subtract as well, just so we can have more than one function. So number 1 minus number 2. Okay, so this is our class. So we have our class here, and now we can access this anywhere in our app. So to do that, all we have to do is, let's say we were going to do a calculation here. First, let's initialize it. So let's call it let calculator helper, and wait, actually I'll just call it a helper class so it's different to what it actually is called. And then we have to do something like calculator helper, initialize it with two numbers. So let's just do something like 1, and actually let's do 2 and 1 so we can subtract them, and then let's just get the value by printing calculator helper class dot add numbers. Okay, so obviously this was a really simple example, but the idea is you can just initialize it with values, and then you can use those values and return calculations and things based on that. So this could be a really complicated function like a HTTP call or something which goes through an entire algorithm, and then it just becomes really simplified when you just need to use it multiple times like that. So usually what I've been doing is creating an entire Swift class, and then I just have these functions outside. But this is actually a better way of doing it, since you can actually call one thing at a time, and yeah, it's just a lot better, more structured. So anyway, you can see it prints 3 because we called the add numbers, and then if we were to call the subtract numbers, it would just become 1. So yeah, this is how you use and initialize helper classes. If we were to not have any of these, for example, if we just didn't have anything, and then we just say self dot number 1 is equal to 5, self dot number 2 equals 3, and then we wouldn't have to do any of this. And now we've just got a new instance here, and you can see it gives us 2 because 5 minus 3 is 2. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the future tutorial. This was how you use helper classes in Swift.